You step outside at 7:22 in the morning, same as you do every morning. And before you've reached the feeder, before you've pulled back the lid, before a single seed has dropped, it's already there. The same bird, the same branch, watching you. You've probably told yourself it's a coincidence, that birds just happen to be around in the morning, that it saw you move through the window and came for the food. But here is what nobody ever tells you, and what the science says with unusual clarity. That bird was not waiting for your seed. It was waiting for you. It knows your schedule, not approximately, not roughly. It knows it the way you know the sound of your alarm, the way your body wakes before it goes off, the way a routine becomes so deeply encoded that it stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like gravity. That bird outside your window has been tracking your movements for months, possibly for years. It knows when you wake up. It knows which door you use. It knows whether this is a morning you'll linger or a morning you'll rush. And the most remarkable thing about all of this, the thing that changes everything once you understand it, is that the bird isn't doing this by accident. It is doing it on purpose, with the full weight of a cognitive system that researchers have spent decades trying to fully understand. What is happening inside that bird's brain is one of the most sophisticated things happening in your yard, and it has been pointed directly at you. If this is already making you look at the birds outside differently, hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps. And drop a comment telling me which birds visit your yard most often. I love knowing who I'm talking to. There is a moment that happens in almost every long-term relationship between a backyard and its birds, a moment that passes without ceremony, without any visible shift in the morning light, without a single note of song to mark it. It is the moment a bird stops filing your yard under useful location and starts filing it under something closer to home. And within that reclassification, something else happens that is far more personal. The bird begins to file you. Not the yard, not the feeder, not the bath. You, specifically, as an individual, as a recurring presence in the landscape, as someone it is beginning to know. Black-capped chickadees are the species that researchers have studied most extensively in this context, and what those studies have documented is extraordinary in its precision. A chickadee that has spent several weeks in a territory doesn't just learn the locations of food and water and safe cover. It builds what researchers describe as a social map, a cognitive representation of every significant presence in that territory, which in a suburban or rural yard almost always includes the humans who maintain it. You become a data point first, a large moving object assessed for threat. Then you become a pattern, something that appears at consistent intervals, moves in predictable ways, generates reliable outcomes like food in a feeder or water in a bath. And then, over time, with enough data, enough consistent non-threat, enough predictable calm, you become something different. You become known. The chickadee that has been in your yard for 2 seasons doesn't have a concept for you that we would recognize as friendship. But it has something that functions with remarkable similarity to familiarity. A detailed internal record of your behaviors, your timing, your movements, your presence, and it uses that record the way it uses everything in its cognitive map, to predict, to plan, to stay safe, to thrive. Most people who have experienced this have felt it without being able to name it. You notice the birds don't startle the way they used to. You notice one particular bird seems to appear right when you come outside. You notice that it holds its ground at a distance that surprises you, that it watches you with something that feels like recognition, that it orients toward you in a way that feels too deliberate to be coincidence. You are not imagining any of it. You are observing one of the most refined cognitive achievements of the avian world directed at you. The bird watching you, that cardinal at the feeder edge, that nuthatch on the trunk just at eye level, that chickadee on the branch closest to where you always stand, that bird is not reacting to your presence. It is incorporating your presence. And the difference between those two things is the difference between a stranger and someone you know. The way it works begins with time. Not your sense of time, not the loose and forgiving human version of time where 7:15 and 7:35 are both just morning. Bird time is different. Wild birds operate on what researchers call circadian rhythms, with extraordinary internal precision, biological clocks calibrated to the specific daily arc of their survival needs. For a resident bird, one that has claimed your yard as its territory, this internal clock doesn't just regulate when it sleeps and when it wakes. It regulates when it goes where. Studies tracking banded individual birds at known feeders have documented arrival windows so precise that specific birds returned within 5 to 10 minutes of the same time on consecutive days. not driven by temperature, not driven by feeder fullness, but driven by an internal schedule that had incorporated the feeder into its daily structure as a fixed point. Your yard is that fixed point for the birds that live there. And the extraordinary thing, the thing that most people never realize, is that you are also becoming a fixed point. Because you, if you are anything like most people who feed birds, operate on a schedule too. You wake up at roughly the same time. You move through your morning in roughly the same sequence. You come outside at roughly the same moment. And the bird that has been watching you for months has noted all of it. It noted when you started appearing in the yard in January and what time you came outside in February, and whether you were faster in summer or slower in winter. It noted that on weekdays you rush and on weekends you linger. It noted which door you use and which path you walk to the feeder and how long you typically stay. It noted you the way it notes everything that matters in its territory, carefully, persistently, with the full force of a memory system designed by evolution to extract reliable patterns from a chaotic world. A northern cardinal has a brain the size of a walnut. A black-capped chickadee's brain is smaller still, and yet the memory system packed into that space is so precisely engineered for pattern recognition and spatial recall that it puts our casual observations of our own routines to shame. The chickadee does not forget, it does not misremember, it does not lose track. Every time you came outside, it was logging. Every time you filled the feeder, it was updating. Every time you moved through the yard in the same sequence, it was confirming. You are in that bird's mental map not as a vague human presence, but as a specific, recognizable, behaviorally predictable individual. You have a routine in that bird's mind that may be more accurate than the one you describe to yourself. The misreading that most people make, and it is completely understandable, is to explain this away. To say the bird is just hungry. To say it appears when I come outside because that's when I fill the feeder. To chalk up the recognition, the timing, the orientation, the proximity to coincidence and appetite, and nothing more meaningful than that. This is the most common and the most costly misreading of backyard bird behavior. Not costly in a dramatic sense. The birds will keep coming regardless. But costly in the sense that you are watching something remarkable happen and interpreting it as something ordinary. The bird outside your window at 7:22 every morning is not there because it sensed the seed. It is there because it sensed you. And the difference is everything. Here is how to begin seeing it clearly. There are specific, observable behaviors that signal a bird has moved past general familiarity with your yard and into something more targeted, something that is in the most precise scientific sense about you. These are not dramatic behaviors. They are quiet ones, the kind that happen before you have had your second cup of coffee. The first thing to watch for is the direction of the bird's attention before you have done anything. A bird using your feeder pays attention to the feeder. When you come outside, its focus returns quickly to the seed. A bird that has been tracking you does something different. Before you reach the feeder, it turns. Not with alarm, just a small, deliberate reorientation that places you in the center of its visual field. It already knows you are not a threat. It is tracking you the way you track a familiar face across a room, not with weariness, but with recognition. That bird is not reacting. It is greeting. The second behavior surprises people most. Chickadees, titmice, and nuthatches will position themselves between where you currently are and where you are going. You walk toward the feeder and the chickadee moves to the branch halfway along your route. You sit on the porch and within minutes it is in the tree closest to where you settled. It is not following you for food. It is following you because your presence signals safety. You have become a moving landmark, one the bird tracks because wherever you are is currently the safest place in the yard to be. The third behavior is one most people have dismissed entirely. You are in the yard and a bird gives a sharp, urgent call. You look up and there is a Cooper's hawk in the oak at the back of your lot. Research on alarm behavior in resident birds has documented that birds which have incorporated specific humans into their social world will direct alarm calls toward those trusted individuals during predator events. You are in the network. When the alarm is sounded, it reaches you. A bird warning you has classified you as someone worth warning, someone in the territory. If you are finding this helpful, please subscribe and turn on notifications. I upload new videos every week and I would hate for you to miss one. Your support is what makes this channel possible, and it genuinely means the world to me. The fourth behavior is the one that stops people completely. A bird lands somewhere very close, not at the feeder, not at the bath, but near you, on the railing beside where you are sitting, on the branch just above your shoulder, and it stays. What you are seeing is the endpoint of a long and patient evaluation conducted over months without you knowing it was happening. The chickadee that lands 6 inches from your shoulder knows your stillness and the rhythm of your breathing when you are calm. It concluded, after all of that careful study, that you can be trusted. You have been watching the birds in your yard, but they have been watching you back, more carefully, more consistently, and for far longer than you ever realized. What do you do with this understanding? That is the question that matters most now. Because knowing that a bird has been watching you, tracking your schedule, logging your movements, building a model of you inside a brain the size of a walnut, that knowledge is not just fascinating. It is an invitation to become more deliberate about the presence you offer. The birds in your yard have been responding to who you already are. Imagine what happens when you begin to respond back with the same consistency they have brought to you. The single most important thing you can do is show up at the same time. This sounds almost too simple, and that is exactly why most people underestimate it. The bird that has incorporated you into its circadian map has done so because your appearances have been regular enough to feel reliable. When you become more consistent, when the back door opens at the same hour, when the feeder is filled in the same sequence, when your footsteps follow the same rhythm morning after morning, you are not just maintaining a habit, you are deepening a relationship. The resident black-capped chickadee that has been timing its arrival to yours will tighten that window. The northern cardinal that waits on the fence post will begin arriving earlier and more confidently. Consistency is the language these birds speak most fluently. When you speak it back, they hear you. The second thing is stillness, not the forced stillness of someone trying not to scare a bird. The bird reads that tension and registers it immediately. Real stillness, the kind that comes from genuinely settling into the yard without an agenda, without your attention divided between the garden and everything else waiting for you inside. Birds assessing your proximity threshold are doing so based on your actual physiological state, your breathing rate, the micro movements of your hands, the speed at which your eyes move across the yard. When you are genuinely calm, they know, and they come closer. Many people who have spent years feeding birds and never had one land near them have found that the missing ingredient was not time or seed or feeder placement. It was presence. Real, undistracted, unhurried presence. Give the birds that and they will give you something no field guide can fully prepare you for. The third thing is patience measured in seasons, not days. The relationship between a person and the resident birds of their yard is one of the slowest building and most enduring connections available in the natural world. A northern cardinal that nests in the shrubs along your south fence this spring may return to that same shrub next spring and the spring after that. Its fledglings raised in your yard, exposed to your presence from the first days of their lives, will build their own assessment of you. If you are the same person their parents trusted, they will trust you too. You will not see the exact moment a new bird adds you to its internal map. But one morning you will step outside and notice that the cardinal on the fence has a slightly different tail pattern than the one you have been watching for 3 years, and yet it holds its ground when you approach, and you will understand that the trust did not begin with this bird. It began with its parents. It began with you, years ago, simply showing up. This is what a yard becomes when you tend it long enough and quietly enough. It becomes a location in the memory of multiple generations of wild creatures. A place that carries a reputation for safety, passed from parent to fledgling across seasons you will never fully track. The birds in your yard right now are not random. They are the result of every morning you came outside, every feeder you filled, every time you moved slowly and gave them no reason to leave. They are the living record of a relationship you have been building longer than you knew. And the bird that appears tomorrow morning, on the same branch, watching the same door, it is not waiting for your seed, it is waiting for you. It already knows you are coming. Go outside. Thank you so much for being here until the very end. It means everything. If this video changed how you see the birds in your yard even a little, please share it with someone who loves nature. Check out the videos on your screen now. I think you will love them. And subscribe if you have not already. I will see you in the next one.